What is up, everybody? Keith, aka Gator Guy 231. It's Tuesday, July 28th, and we've got WNBA back again after an awesome first weekend. We have 3 games on the slate tonight. I'm here with FSI's head of WNBA content, Will Lewis, aka Dub Lewis. How's it going, my friend?
Going well, Gator. Saturday was a crazy day in the league, and like we saw that from DFS as well. But Sunday was awesome. So, good finish.
I was going to say, so talk to me about your roller coaster weekend real quick.
Yeah, man. So Saturday, I think with a lot of the sharps in the industry kind of got rocked on Saturday with just 3 massive blowouts and then just very unpredictable rotations and just it was just not a good day. Was down quite a bit, but then obviously Sunday came in and you had close games and the plays that we were on did really well and was able to find some green on Sunday and make up for Saturday's losses. So feeling pretty good heading into this week. I'm really excited.
Yeah, you had to have the little consult with me to talk you off a ledge on Saturday. After, I mean, let's just be real though. It's crazy. Indiana decides, we don't need to start McCowan. Tiara Hawkins, what was it? She pulled her back.
Yeah, Hawkins pulls the back in warm-ups, doesn't play, just not stuff. So.
And then Hines Allen decides to channel what her inner. God, I'm trying to think of anybody.
I don't know. Her inner. I don't know, inner Deladon. She took her.
There you go, her inner Deladon. I like that. But here's the deal. Hats off to people that did well on Saturday and adjusted to the news, right? Neither one of us did.
Sure.
That's.
Oh, wait, if you did a late swap from Hawkins or someone to Hines Allen in all your lineups, you were set. So I mean,
you were, or maybe you get off of at that point, especially a DK. Maybe at that point you can get off of McCowan from Eastman or something like that, and you did just fine. But thus is DFS. So before we get in, a quick shout out to one of our partners. Why don't you give a shout out to She Plays real quick?
Yeah, so She Plays. I was on their podcast last week. They are kind of a cutting edge, really doing all different things for women's sports, women's empowerment. So along with the WNBA here, they're offering fantasy games as well as other ways to follow along all your women's sports league, really across the country. So a really unique and cool business that's getting started by my friend Ashley, and so I wanted to give a quick shout out to them. So go check them out on their fantasy games they're offering for the WNBA as well.
Yeah, they did a great job covering NWSL and just really giving women sports everywhere some extra shouts. So make sure you check them out. Well, we are going to be covering DraftKings and FanDuel today. This is our first free content for everybody. We're going to have a mixture of free and premium only. Will always has a video for at least our subscribers or this. So make sure you join up. I'm going to have a special code for you guys at the end if you can stick it out. I promise you it's going to be some good content and some huge some picks and things like that. It's going to help you win today. So stick around and we'll get you save some money if you want to join up at the end. All right, so let's just jump right into it. This is the format. We're not going to be building rosters. We're not going to be bringing up our screen, showing you pricing, all that stuff. We're going to talk about the plays, what we know about the teams, their rotations, maybe who you should target to build your lineups for the best success. So we're going to start the first game at 7 p.m. And thank God this gives the 7 o'clock game. Well, I would have heartburn if this was the 10 p.m. game. But Washington at Connecticut, I think, can easily be said is the most important game on the DFS slate today. Why don't you talk? Let's start out with Washington. Where do you see and kind of where do you think we're going today?
So Washington, obviously, we don't really know what the starters' minutes are going to look like tonight. In the blowout on Sunday against Indiana, Tebow kind of opened up the bench. A lot of players got run and stuff. So assuming this game stays pretty competitive tonight, I'm not exactly sure what those starters' minutes look like. So I would project they get more than they did on Sunday. And honestly, I think that game got out of hand really quick. And so, a lot of the players that we were on Saturday, just did not get a lot of the run we thought they would. So I assume they should get some normal run here today. And so, I think we go back and for starters like Emma Meeseman again, still a top play on the slate. I think, she 24, 25 fantasy points on Saturday, but they didn't need her. And once Hines Allen got going, there was just no need to really even feed her. And so she still did fine, 24, 25, even in a really horrible game for her, totally fine. So I think Emma Meeseman is a top play again on tonight's slate for sure. And she will be a top play for the rest of the season. So that's not really someone that we have to talk much about. So, yeah, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say here's what I think, like, or what I want to know from you. What are you? I feel like this was like the case before the season, and I still, after game one, I'm still kind of just torn. What do you do with their backcourt, like with the Atkins, like Lonnie Mitchell?
Yeah, I think we'll get there. Then start staying in the front court real quick.
Okay.
Assuming Hawkins does not play, Hines Allen will start, and I'm not touching her. Hines Allen is not someone I'm going to play. She's priced up. I'm not chasing that game again. So there's just, I will not have any Maisha Hines Allen. I think she could be a fine GPP play if you want, but in the end, this is not a player that's going to drop 40 again tonight. I just don't see it. And could it happen? Sure, but it's not someone that I'm chasing. And if it happens, I'll live with that. So I'm kind of avoiding that situation as well. As far as the backcourt goes, it'll be interesting because they did give, Shea Petty and some of the Kiara Leslie and some of those bench guards quite a bit of run. And again, was that a product of the blowout? I think a little bit, but also, I think Tebow wants to figure out what he has this year. And so Lonnie Mitchell, at 13 or 14 years into the league, still, a cheap play, I think, on both sides. However, I do have, after watching that game, do have a little bit of worry that, they kind of open up the bench in the backcourt. So as far as that goes. So Lonnie Mitchell she's priced very fairly. Like if she ends up in my lineup, fine. I don't think that's someone I'm prioritizing, but she would be a very last, player or two in my lineup. I'd be very confident about, getting me to that 20, 25, 30 fantasy point marker, but she may not have the upside that we thought she might have. As far as Ariel Atkins goes, I thought they were going to implement her a little bit more into the offense this year with so many players gone, but I watched a little bit of that game and she's still just standing in the corner. She's going to be a 3 or she's going to be a backdoor cut. That's kind of going to be her role on offense as far as, if she gets the ball, which, it's great for players like Misa and stuff who they're really prioritizing on offense. But, Atkins is probably still going to have to do a little bit of the block steals and hit her 3-pointers to get us to value. And so, it's interesting because FanDuel, she was just the lock of the slate on Saturday and now she's cheaper tonight. And here we are saying, what do we do? So she's someone that I think, she's a great play. She really is. 4.4 on FanDuel especially. That's a great price for the upside that she could have. She has that 30, 35 fantasy point upside. It's just after watching that first game, I'm not exactly sure what the floor is. And I kind of saw that on Saturday. She got a very low floor. So she's a little bit riskier than we thought. And then, kind of ran out the starting 5, Ariel Powers at the 3 spot. I really just do like Ariel Powers. In the end, she played 23, 24 minutes, got 23, 24 fantasy points, and she didn't do much at all in the first quarter and still kind of got there. She does it all. Points, rebounds, assists. She'll run the pick and roll with Misa a little bit. And then obviously on defense too, she'll collect us a couple blocks and steals. So I really do like Ariel Powers as a play that you could fit in your lineups at a very fair price on both sides as well. But, overall, we thought maybe the Mystics would be load up on their starters and kind of just figure out the rest, but not so much, just because I think Tebow is going to give the people the bench a little bit more run than maybe we thought. But again, if Hawkins is out tonight, then still they're only 8 or 9 bodies, so I still think they're very fair targets for sure.
Yeah, and I think the wrap I'll just put on it. I think I love the power shout, especially with where she's priced comparison to Hines Allen. So if you just want immediate, the sharp pivot, I think easily go Powers over Hines Allen, get half the ownership, and a player that we like that much more preseason and even just watching the games. So
yeah, exactly. And I've seen people kind of tout Shea Petty and Kiara Leslie, Shea Petty especially tonight. I there's better value tonight. I would not chase the Mystics bench at all personally. So
this is going to be their top competition in the East. It should be Connecticut and Washington up until the end. So I really think let's stick with the girls we know and not the ones that we expected or that we didn't expect to have a role this season. That would be my thought on it. Just on the Connecticut side of things, so I just saw this morning before getting on that looks like Dwana Bonner is a go. So I think we need to plan for her in, not out. Can you just give a kind of a quick overview? For first off, I guess, it starts and ends with Alyssa Thomas, right, for Connecticut.
Yeah, it's good that Bonner's in. I saw Kurt Miller say she was okay after the game, so it's good to know that she's in. At least we know we can figure that, but also something to monitor. We talked about this on Sunday. Alyssa Thomas was in our core. We just thought without Jonquel Jones, she was going to get the crazy rebounding usage. And without Courtney Williams, she was going to be on ball even more. And so it just, this is her team already, even with Bonner coming in. So we wanted to build around her. And, she had a great game on Sunday. She had, 30, 35 in the first half. Then slowed down really, only ended up at like 42, 45. But this is going to be, arguably probably a more up-tempo game tonight. And so she just feasts these up-tempo games. She's the type of player that grabs the rebound and then just sprints the length of the court and makes something happen, either drives in or, kicks out and finds someone. So it really does all start with Alyssa Thomas. Like she is the top play on the Sun. And she will be a top 5 fantasy player this season. Just watching that game, I was just like, she's doing it all. So yeah, Alyssa Thomas is a top stud tonight. If you're paying all the way up, she's probably the top of my list. If you're getting up to the very top range, just I think you're getting very, very safe, a very safe play in Alyssa Thomas. And this is a very exploitable matchup too. Yeah, I think just being able to, I think against Misaman and people that the basics, front court's a little bit undersized, are not like incredibly physical. So I think she'll be able to kind of bully her way around them tonight. As far as the rest of the Sun go, we'll stay in the front court. Brianna Jones gets to start with placements out. And to be honest, I knew a little bit about Brianna Jones last year. Whenever she filled in for Jonquel, she played 10 minutes and get 11, 12 fantasy points. Like she definitely was a very good fantasy points per minute contributor last year. And then, when I saw placements was out and Jones was starting on Sunday, I kind of did a little more research and looked over at her stats over in Europe. And like, she was like second team all whatever country she was in with Griner. So like she posted like 15-9 this year overseas. So like, she's a very good player. And I watched the game against Fouls, and like she very much held her own. And now she gets Maisha Hines-Allen, I think, on her, very undersized. Again, a cheap play on both sides. I really do like Brianna Jones because she played 30 minutes too. So if without placements, Kurt Miller is going to give her the minutes, then, it makes for a really good play. So she played a lot of minutes. And really, I'll say this, all the Sun starters played a ton of minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe Bria Holmes didn't, but Jasmine and Bonner, who we'll get into now, and Jones and Alyssa Thomas, they all played a ton of minutes. So I think you want to chase the players that are playing the minutes early on. And that makes sense because the Sun are just not a deep team right now. They just don't have the bodies to throw out there. And so you can't really afford much by taking the starters out.
Yeah, they get dark quick.
They do. Yeah, you pull like if they don't have a start on the floor at all times. I mean, it's not good. So, to run out the backcourt. Yeah, so Jasmine Thomas and Bonner. Jasmine Thomas. I kind of mentioned her in chat yesterday. I had a little bit of her on DraftKings. She was very fairly priced on FanDuel on Sunday too. So I really thought she was a solid play. She ended up scoring 13 or 14 fantasy points. But, my main takeaway was I watched that game, played 30 minutes, shot 1 for 10. Mm-hmm. And she's on the ball. She's on ball more than I thought she'd be. Bonner's more in the corner. Alyssa Thomas gets it off pick and rolls and kind of coming off screens. But for the most part, Jasmine Thomas runs the show. And so, 30 minutes for Jasmine Thomas in her past has always been more of a 25, 30 fantasy point kind of consistent player. So, and, if she hits her shots and she's back up there, on Sunday, but people will be a little bit scared, I think, from that outing. She's a play that I'm not really worried about tonight. I would go back to her at a very fair price on both sides. I liked her more if Bonner was questionable, but still, I think that could get people, off her even more. So if you're looking for a limited, Bonner's limited, sure, exactly. Yeah. So if you're looking, I think Jasmine Thomas could be a very low owned, 5-6x play on FanDuel, maybe 4 or 5x on DraftKings. And then getting into Dwana Bonner, dropped 40, and Alyssa Thomas dropped 42 on Sunday. We talked about them being stackable together in preseason in our preview that we did. And, you saw it already day one that, her and Alyssa were together and a lot of lineups up at the top. Bonner, it's a 3-man show. It really is. It really is Bonner, Alyssa Thomas, Jasmine Thomas to some extent, and then Brianna Jones just kind of cleans up and gets some blocks and steals and stuff. So, Dwana Bonner looked like her normal self. They worked on the offense well. They don't really have to do a lot for, you have to kind of like make a lot happen for Alyssa Thomas. You have to kind of get her in good positions, have her come off screens. Bonner, she just kind of gets there. She's not really like, I watched the game. She's not necessarily like built into the offense, so the running set plays for her and stuff. She's in the corner, but she's just making things happen. When she's on the ball, she makes things happen. And then from, steals, blocks, she turns them into, quick transitions, and she'll rack up 6-7 fantasy points in a minute or two. And that's just kind of the player she is. So especially in an up-tempo game against Washington, really do like the Sun big three a lot. And I think, it would be kind of surprising if you didn't have at least one of them in your lineup tonight, I would think.
I agree. I mean, I think this is the game stack game maybe, the chalkier game stack. But just a quick note on Bonner, and then we'll move on. But 0 for 6 from 3. So you look at, on DK, she finished with 38.5. FanDuel, just pull it up real quick, finished with 40.6. Let's just think about it, if she even shoots 33%, we're looking, sweating 50s.
Correct. And I will say too, Bonner, she gets hurt very easily. So she'll get dinked around last year. She'd be dinked up and stuff, and she was fine. So she's starting tonight. I expect her to be totally fine. And also I didn't mention the other. Bria Holmes started. I don't remember how many minutes she played, but Bria Holmes and the rest of whoever Holmes and Heidemann and Kalina Mosqueda-Lewis, just not really worth it. Again, it's going to be the big three and Brianna Jones if the Sun plays. So I just want to mention that real quick.
22 minutes for Holmes. So.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, let's jump to the next game. Hold on. All right, so we're going to jump into the second game, and we have LA at Chicago. I keep saying at, like that matters. They're all in IMG Academy. So let's just talk about we'll start with the Sparks. We know that above all, the Sparks is another big three team, but they did have kind of some contributions across the board in that blowout. What's kind of your take on them here?
Yeah, so this whole game in general is every game you see with the Sky screams great game, and then you realize as far from a fantasy point of view, especially with the Sparks too, it just there's no obvious plays. There's a lot of there's gonna be one or two players from each team that kind of have really good games, and you have to figure out who that is. From the Sparks side of the ball, look, Saturday's not going to happen again. I don't think, Augustus and some of the bench players come in and just go off, and that just turns into a blowout. However, Fisher said he kind of wanted to limit his starters' minutes at the beginning of the season, and he's the player that has done that in the past. He's always kind of limited Parker's and Nneka's minutes. So for me, all the Sparks are a little bit more GPP oriented, especially the Sparks big three. Nneka had a great game. I don't know if she missed a shot though. So she had a great game. And again, it was just, I don't really play a lot of Nneka. I think she's a solid play.
Or MVP, so of course she's a good player.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we like Parker a lot, and so Nneka went off. I think Nneka's a fine play, a good GPP play. I don't know if she has the same upside as some of the other players, especially in limited minutes, but it's a good spot for her. If there is a game that Candace Parker is going to really show up, and it should be tonight, I would think just in this. Again, I remember she'd always go off in Chicago because that was her hometown narrative. So maybe she has some hometown narrative against Chicago and Orlando. I don't know. But, these up-tempo games where she can kind of get the rebound and make things happen going down the court, I think bode well for her. And so I think this is an interesting spot for her. Again, she's just going to be more GPP oriented until, that she can prove it to me. And there's just no way that I think I could play Parker and Nneka in a lineup together tonight. There's too many others on the slate.
I was gonna say, I think the really interesting thing about both of them is they're gonna come in my opinion, super low owned on both sides, just because the forward pool's so loaded,
right,
that you're just with girls that really much lead the line, so to speak, for their team. So it's gonna be really weird to click on one of them over a Fowles or over a Stewie or.
I would mention though, Parker it's 9.4 on DK. You are getting a little bit of value.
Little.
You're taking a chance, but
you don't really need it.
Yeah, there is a little value to have. The issue is just, with them two, then obviously we're getting Chelsea Gray, who I think is a really good play. Chelsea Gray had good numbers against Chicago last year. She kind of ran the show. I thought Parker would run the show a little bit more against Phoenix on Saturday, or it's really just Chelsea Gray. She kind of made everything happen, and she hit 26, 27, and maybe 19 or 20 minutes. So, if they get up to the 27 to 30-minute mark, they're all solid plays. But again, I just don't exactly know if they get up there. Even if it's a close game, does Fisher play them 27, 28 minutes, and they just don't become worth it. So I think all three plays are carry some risk and are reserved more for tournaments, less for cash. However, I do think you could make an argument to fit one of those big three into your lineups. Just the issue is you have to be prepared that one of them hits 25 and the person you don't play gets 35 or 40. It's just the way the Sparks big three works, and so you have to understand you are taking a risk when you do that. As far as the rest of that lineup, Raquana still cheap, didn't shoot very well, and still did. Still got almost 4 or 5x, I think, on FanDuel at least. Issue is, she needed 3 steals to get there, so that can be her game sometimes. However, so she does contribute from the defensive side of the ball, but she needed the steals to kind of get to value. So I think she's a fine play if you need the salary relief. Tierra and Pratt, ceremonial starter like we figured. Sykes was fine off the bench, but still just not chasing that here. And really outside the Sparks big three and Raquana, there's just no other reason to chase Augustus or Rashonda Gray or any of those players off the bench.
It's just busy, it's just clogged.
Just a lot.
Play the top three or move on. And if you have if you're the last person in, you have a good gut for it, go for it. Otherwise, not optimal plays, in my opinion. On the Chicago side, they were a heartburn team for us. What was it, Saturday? Yeah, it was Saturday.
Sunday.
With the Kayla Copper starting over DeShields. Why don't you go into why that happened and, just the Sky in general?
Yeah, so that was good. We caught that news, which is good. And a lot of people didn't. Diamond got benched. We saw Copper starting over her, and so everyone kind of freaked out a little bit. And I think that's what we're seeing early on. If someone that's supposed to be starting is not starting, there's a reason. Get them out of your lineups. It's because of an injury or something happened in warm-ups or there's a preseason thing we didn't know about, and it's just now getting so brought around. Yeah, so Diamond's dealing with knee issues, and Coach Wade wanted to limit her minutes. She played 15. And Copper starts, plays 25, and does well. So that's kind of the thing where I think just with these, these, that's a quick note, with the short preseason and stuff, is coaches really aren't taking chances with players. So if any of their starts are hampered, they're going to play them limited minutes. So anytime you see something like that get pulled, I think it's just smart to get them out of your lineup, which, we did at FSI. So that was good. And a quick note about the Sky. The Sparks stymied the Mercury on Saturday. I mean, absolutely just bogged them down. So the Sky, play super up-tempo, great offense. This is a tough spot for them because the Sparks are such a great defense. So this is definitely not as good of a spot as it was against the Aces on Sunday. So I will mention that. As far as the Sky go, again, just a team that's very balanced in production. We saw on Sunday they had so many players get between 20 and 35 fantasy points, or 20 and really 30. I don't think anyone had 30 for them. Because even Sloot hit 20 on FanDuel. So a lot of players are going to contribute. So, that's something that makes it tough, especially against a tough defense. So going through plays, Stevens start next to Dolson in the front court. Dolson's always she's always a fine play. Her minutes are never great, but she's always a pretty good bet for 20, 25 fantasy points, maybe a little more upside. So, she's okay if you land on her, but I'm not probably chasing her, trying to prioritize her. Azurá Stevens, she got the start. You were right. Stevens, yeah, I'll give you the shout out there. You were right. She started. They Parker off the bench, so it makes some sense. Stevens had 13, I think, in the first quarter. Yeah. And then gets in foul trouble and finishes with 16 and plays 20 minutes. And, Parker plays a lot, which Stevens should have had probably 25. She kept going. However, that's kind of going to be a thing that you'll see this year. They really do like Cheyenne Parker still, and so they're going to get her minutes as well. But however, Azurá Stevens' value on both sides,
it's there.
She can handle if you need the salary relief. She's there. And again, tough matchup with Kenneth Parker, though. We'll say that. So
I'm going to pause you there. Just so much personally on my game in DFS is evolving, just understanding ownership and leverage. But if you want a huge ownership leverage in GPPs on FanDuel, Brianna Jones is going to be chalk at 3,800. So Azurá Stevens 3,800 as well. Just a quick pivot over there. And if she outscores Jones by 4 or 5 points, you have massive leverage over your field. So just keep that in mind. It's probably a GPP move, but that's a fifth of the ownership.
Totally agree. And yeah, I think you'll see that as well. And Stevens is very popular on Sunday. She was 30-40% in cash, which she wasn't really a play I was on, especially when Brianna Jones opened up. So, I think you could get some ownership on her again as well. But again, not prioritizing her. But if you need the double punt or salary relief, or you want to go her or Brianna Jones, that's fair. Rest of the lineup, Copper starts for DeShields. Interesting value both sides, I think. Her minutes weren't great because Diamond's still going to play some minutes off the bench. However, 23 minutes, I think had 25 fantasy points. But she scored 18 points, which is a little bit not normal for her, I would say. In her previous starts to the team and stuff, she's never been a crazy big scorer. So I'm not sure, chasing 18 points makes a lot of sense. However, I think you can chase, the 20, 25 minutes and hope that she can get you 20, 25 fantasy points, maybe hit that 5-6x mark again.
Yeah, so I think
it's very fair. Yeah, if you need the value, I think she's very playable. A 4.5 starter in the end, is a 4.5 starter. So.
And 4.9 in DK is super.
Yeah, 4.9 in DK, very nice too. And then to round out the rest of the lineup was Vandersloot and Quigley. Quigley was fine on Sunday. She's still going to be more of just a shoot. She's going to have to shoot her way to value. She's going to have to score 15, 17 real points to get to value. But still fine. I think she's a fine cash play. Just provide some safety just because, again, her wife's passing her the ball. So there's worse things that you could chase.
Yeah.
And then Salute, still one of the top point guards in the league. Had 8 points and 11 assists, I think. Her GPP winning upside, it's all about if she can score. In the games that she drops 15, 20 points, those are the games where she usually drops a double-double and just kind of goes off. So you kind of need that. And if not, she's going to be more in that 30, 35 fantasy point range, which provides some safety. However, I think, Bonner, and Bonner has more upside than her. And there's just players that do have some more upside than her. However, this is a good matchup for her. I don't exactly know why, but she has done really well against Chicago or against the Sparks in the past. She actually scored the ball pretty well too. I think maybe just Nneka and Candace kind of stymieing out the front court a little bit. That's kind of opened that up for her, but she has scored 2 or 3 points above her average in the past against the Sparks the last couple of seasons. So interesting play. I think I'd be fine with her in cash, but more of a little bit GPP oriented to me, I think.
And then last play, I'll just jump out and maybe just want to give a quick thought at the end. But Gabby Williams showed out pretty good. Played a big role off the bench. She was off the bench, right?
Yeah.
So here's just a little quick thing on Gabby Williams. She's the type. She came with a lot of fanfare. She really doesn't do like anything sensationally well, but she's just really good basketball player. So
she was really bad she was not good last year.
Yeah, and she
looked great
at this point. So
she looked great on Sunday. Yeah, she looked very good in that game.
Yeah, she's just taking a little bit longer to acclimate, but 5K on FanDuel in the guard position, I think is very doable. Probably more of a GPP play. But then she's sub 5K as a forward on DK. So again, if you want to like a leverage play off of Brianna Jones chalk, that's another quick look for you.
Yeah, it's good. We didn't mention Cheyenne Parker either.
Great one.
Cheyenne Parker off the bench. She's someone that just Dolce and Stevens are not as good as Nneka and Parker. So foul trouble or just getting worked early could easily lead for a big role for Cheyenne Parker off the bench, I think. And she's had good games against LA in the past. So I think, Cheyenne Parker gets 25, 30 minutes here. So this is a good spot for her. I wanted to mention that as well. And then Diamond, until we see her starting and that she's fine, don't play Diamond to Shield. There's no reason to really play her in your lineup. So
yeah, the cool part about Cheyenne Parker is in a head-to-head, somebody can be like, "Man, I hope Candace Parker doesn't go off if they didn't realize that you have the other C Parker." So. Anyhow, so good game. I think that if we kind of touched on that, that's a good GPP game. Not a ton of like cash locks, but maybe you go there in GPP. Final game of the night. This is also the showdown. I think on both sites. I think FanDuel has one. I didn't double check, but we've got the Storm taking on the Lynx. Brianna Stewart is not 3.2K anymore on DK. Thank God. We did not. So let me just do a quick note on that. I'll let you do it. So for those, like, there's a group, there was, especially in our chat, there was a contingent complaining, and then there's a contingent that are going, thank God. We both fall on the thank God side of things. Let me just explain kind of why for everybody. So it does not benefit, like, really, in my opinion, better players to have a free square. You want people to have to make decisions, especially people that may not be as like experienced or as good at DFS, to make wrong decisions. So to take arguably the most talented player in the WNBA and make her stone min does not help anybody, because then it immediately you just go down the line. You go, okay, I'm going to click this top player, this top player, this top player. And now it's like 1v1s in cash or 2v2s. And, I want 4v4s personally. So do you have any quick things on that before we jump in?
I totally agree. I think for me, DFS has always been, every player in your lineup's a decision. And if I make just the right decision in every position, then I assume that someone else will make it wrong. They'll stumble along the way. And so when you put in a player like that, where DraftKings pretty much, you take it from a 6-player to a 5-game lineup, it just narrows everything. And the tournaments would have been just whack, like one-offs, and people would have shared everything. It would have just been brutal. So
and it's not even 5 though, because then immediately you go, oh well, Emma Meesman.
That's the thing, exactly. Then it allows you to get everyone else that you want. So you get a list of talents,
everybody's free,
and you get Salute. It's just Bonner, So
it's just fun.
But glad there was a change.
So let's start with Brianna Stewart. Priced out. Still a great play.
Yeah, still a great play. I like her more at 3.2, but she's definitely a top play on the slate. Again, she's not going to be necessarily needed because I think there's plenty of other viable forward plays, but she is like probably just like the top play on the slate probably. It's just again, we talked about her on Saturday. You know, what does her role look like? What does she do? She got 37 fantasy points in 28 minutes.
Yeah, without the fourth
She
quarter.
also had 4 blocks and steals against, you know, the worst team in the league, and she's not going to get that against the Lynx today. So, so I don't know. I think she kind of needed that to get all the way up to value. And again, you know, that was a wax slate on Saturday. But I think she's a very good play. Again, she's the top talent in the league. She's a very good play. It's a good matchup against the Lynx. So yeah, she's a very good play tonight. I still do have a little bit of hesitancy on her, just as far as really more of a product of how good that team is all around. They're just a very good team with so much production. So I think, you know, anyone could step up on any given night. But yes, Brianna Stewart is a top play on the slate. I'm not going to deny that at all. I just don't think she's going to be needed or feel like you have to have her just because there's so many good plays on the slate tonight.
Here, let me give a quick one. Raw points: Alyssa Thomas or Brianna Stewart.
Raw point, Alyssa Thomas.
Yeah, I'm with you there. But it's kind of one of these things that, like, if you fade Brianna Stewart, you fade her and you still like watch the game or watch the logs and you're just like, stop, just
right.
Just stop being so good.
Yeah, she's that talented. She's annoying to root against for sure. So
yeah. But if she hits 40, it's fine. You know, what when you fade her, what you want to just not see is 50 and 60. So
right.
like don't sit there and like tilt your fade off and go, oh my God, Brianna Stewart had 42. Like, that's fine. Like you don't need that.
Totally. Exactly.
So then, you know, you talked about the talent. We got Natasha Howard, Jill Lloyd, Sue Bird, Alyssa Clark. I don't think we need to even really toy with the bench, but you even got Jordan Canada down there. Anybody just kind of like stick out to you, like somebody like I have to have my lineup, or do they all just kind of like fit as like last pieces in?
Yeah.
Maybe Bird on DK.
Yeah, real quick, like Natasha Howard, you know, remember Natasha Howard was with Minnesota. So this is her revenge game for her, and Fowles always shows up against Natasha Howard. It's been like a thing of the past, and we saw her show up on Sunday, so it's like, we'll get to there, but Fowles should have her way with Howard, I think, and Howard's way undersized, so I'm just very, very tournament-oriented. Alicia Clark had a good game, but the blocks and steals against the Liberty, I don't think you can chase that again. Again, GP play, just because there's just better plays, I think. I do like Jill Lloyd. You know, I think she got hurt for a lot of third quarter, didn't play much, and still kind of got 23, 24 fantasy points. Minnesota's leaky 2 guards. And so I think Jill Lloyd's probably the best bet to get the most minutes in that backcourt. So I do like the play there. And then Sue Bird on DK, I think, again, makes a lot of sense. Just they didn't price her up. So Sue Bird there makes a lot of sense. As far as the thing is, I will mention the Storm is their bench is just so good. Jordan Canada, Mercedes Russell, Sammy Whitcomb, like, if the bench takes over the game, he's going to leave the bench in. Or if Sammy Whitcomb's playing better than Joe Lloyd, he's going to leave Whitcomb in for longer minutes. And so you kind of get into these scenarios where, you know, the starter that you played from the Storm plays 20, 22 minutes and they still win by 20. And you're like, you know, what the heck? But it's just kind of a product of the team. So outside of Stewart, there's just no one and then maybe like Bird to some extent on DK, there's just no one that screams like, you know, priority play or must play. So I think that's kind of what you understand with the Storm. And that's going to be the scenario really night in and out this year, just because they're that good of a team. They're going to be favored to win big in a lot of games. And they're just, you know, very crowded from a fantasy point of view. So it would make some sense. But
now on the Lynx side of things, if we have 2018 MVP Sylvia Fulls back, maybe that is a must play. What do you think?
Oh man, you know, on Sunday morning, I'd read some articles in the preseason talking about Reeves saying this is the best shape Fowles has been in at training camp ever. Like, she's like, she could be MVP again this season. And so I was like, huh. Then obviously that price on FanDuel, and I got a lot of her on DraftKings, and, you know, she dropped 50. I mean, looked incredible. Again, albeit it was against Brianna Jones, but still, she looked incredible. So in the past, I don't know if you remember, but Sylvia Fowles had some massive games against the Storm in the past. Mm-hmm. Stewart and Howard just not going to be able to contain her tonight. So yeah, Fowles top play again. FanDuel didn't price her up. So you have to think about a little bit more on DraftKings, but still the double bonus, things like that. You know, Fowles top play on the slate for sure. I say that one of the top plays on the slate for sure. If not,
yeah. You know, I mean, I think it's pretty easy to say on FanDuel, like they screwed up her price, so most people are going to see 52 points for their log under 7,000.
Yeah, she'll be 60 or 70% owned on FanDuel, I would imagine. So, which I think is very fair. But again, if you want to take a Cassandra in a tournament or something, she is interested in it because last year she was the more of the 30 fantasy points. If she hits like 5x as opposed to 7 or 8x, then you could be in a good position with a lot of
like
there. So and it could happen. So
just real quick on that, I mean, 6,500. Let's say that she only puts up 30, and you have an extra 600 to go Candace Parker, and she drops 50 versus Sky. Booyah! So like
there it is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, then the rest of that lineup, going to go Demirs Dantas, fine. She played more minutes than she normally would with collar gain and foul trouble. We weren't on collar on Sunday. She just fouls was the focus of for sure for the Lynx, and collar should be more of a focus here tonight. Collar got in foul trouble. Still had a decent outing. She kind of saved her game in the fourth quarter, but not someone I'm going to prioritize the price. But I mean, she's a fine GPP play if you get on her, and tough probably matchup for having to guard Stewart some. And I would imagine she gets Alicia Clark defense, so that's not easy.
It's annoying.
That's annoying is what it is. It's annoying. Yeah. So those two are, her and Dantas are, fine. I prefer Collier if I'm trying to prioritize one. As far as the backcourt goes, Shanice Johnson and Lexi Brown started, and the Minnesota backcourt is very interesting because there's going to be some high ownership in the Minnesota backcourt, and we'll get there in a second. Shanice Johnson, starting point, she started at point guard pretty much. She ran the show when she was in. Didn't play a lot of minutes though, but she was running pick and rolls with fouls. She was making things happen. She played 20 minutes, I think. Had a solid game, but I will note that her numbers weren't great, but she was on ball the most of all the Lynx stars as I watched. So that's interesting to know. Lexie Brown started alongside her. Shot awful. Didn't hit a three. I think shot maybe 0 for 6, something like that from 3-point range. And had a brutal game. However, she played 32 minutes. She played the most minutes of any Lynx starter. And so her and Fowles and Collier, those three are going to play big minutes for the Lynx all season, I would think. So Lexi Brown's a very interesting kind of go back to GPP play that people are going to overlook because they see her game. But we've known this in the past with Lexi Brown. In order to hit value, she has to score the ball, and she just didn't on Sunday. But the opportunity was there. She took 10 or 11 shots, hit like 1 or 2. She missed some layups too. So she's an interesting kind of bounce back play for sure. And then off the bench, FanDuel, Cream of Christmas Kelly is probably going to be really highly owned at min price on FanDuel. She gets 19-20 fantasy points, but she had 3 steals and a block. So let's think about that. 19 fantasy points, that's 12 fantasy points. Is that right? 3 and a block, I think.
Yeah. So she got 12 on FanDuel. She got 12 fantasy points from the steals and blocks.
So if she gets half of that, and she gets, I don't know, she gets 13 suddenly.
She's still at 7 and 5. She's still at 7 and 5 for 3K.
Yeah, which is fine. But she's going to be, and her and Bam off the bench are going to play. They're probably going to play 15 to 20 minutes each.
Yeah.
They're all just going to split minutes with Shanice Johnson, Lexi Brown, and then Crystal Dangerfield, now the rookie, took over in the fourth quarter, so she's probably going to warrant a couple more minutes. So really, you're looking at about 5 guards that are pretty much fighting for, 80 minutes of court time, essentially, is what you're looking at. So it's going to be kind of roulette in a way where I don't know. But I'm telling you, Cream of Christmas Kelly probably going to be 40 or 50% owned. Yeah. So it's something
I'll just say this about Cream of Christmas Kelly as somebody who was a KCK truther when she was in Dallas.
Yeah, sure.
We played her a lot with the Wings. She can play some 3 too, so maybe she gets a little extra rotation, like backing up Collier. That's the I think that you bring up a great point. Like you just have to like understand that those points at like 24 FanDuel is probably not like a viable projection. I think if I was like projecting maybe 13 to 15,
that's why I call it 12 to 14.
Great for the price. It's just like. Just understand that changes your roster constructions completely. So, it's like, to me, it's not like this Cream of Christmas Kelly. Is she going to produce or is she going to get you value? She's probably going to get you value, but you've got to make sure that piece that you took her over doesn't like way outdo her. Like,
right. And I would say that too. If it's you playing her and then you able to get up to like Jordan Canada or Chelsea Gray or someone, and they only drop like 30, so you get the 30 and the 14 when you could have had 2, 5.0 plays to go for 25, then you're way behind the curve. So you have to that's kind of the roster construction that we talk about.
Exactly.
It's all about weighing, your 2v2s. Like if you're doing this, does it actually get you someone that's actually going to really help pay off the value as well? And so don't just blindly click the 3.0, thinking that that's kind of like just going to get you in a cash. You have to kind of think about every single play like we talked about. So.
Yeah, it's a little Cream of Christmas Kelly at 3K on FanDuel is a little different than Brianna Stewart for 3.2K on DK.
Right.
Can't fade somebody that has 40 upside, but
3.2, yeah.
But you can easily fade, somebody who's just came off their ceiling. Like I personally don't feel this, and maybe we'll end on this. I don't feel like Christmas Kelly is a threat for 30, but if you do, you have to play her.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'd say it.
Fair.
Yeah. So I think that wraps up that game. 3 games. It's going to be fun. We've got another one coming up tomorrow. It's time for me to drop that code. Use code FSI WNBA. So FSI for Fantasy Sports Insight, WNBA. 25% off any sort of weekly subscriptions, including VIP. So with all the sports coming on, really good way to test out FSI, see all the great stuff that we have, and get yourself onto the winning track. Well, this was fun. Thank you for all the insights here. Looking forward to seeing your cores later in chat. Anything else you want to say before we end?
Man, enjoy being with you. I'm sure we'll do this again soon, but I'm looking forward to a big night. So again, hopefully you guys watch this and get signed up, and we'll see you in the Discord tonight. I'll get those core plays and analysis out, and it should be another fun slate. I'm really excited about this one. Can't lie. And again, I will say this: the 3-game slates, we loved them last year, the year before, and every single slate this year is 3 games. So those are kind of our bread and butter. And now we're getting that night in and a night out. So it's we're gonna have some big time success this year. So super excited for
that. And here's to DraftKings. Don't do it again.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's our plug. DraftKings, come on, live scoring over the weekend, and then your mispricings. I mean, hopefully we get something right. They give us a pity-free roll, I guess. That's their way of saying sorry. But
I feel good about them. Publicly traded to company. They'll get their shit together.
That's right.
All right, guys, take it easy. Have a good one.